privileged today to be here with Linda Rice, who along with her husband Randy own and operate the Mountain View Vineyard here in Stroudsburg, Pennsylvania. It's a vineyard that once was a row of vines along a split rail fence, and today is the 90 acres that surround us, yielding more than a dozen types of wines, a distillery up the road with a brandy, an apple pie shine, a corn whiskey, different flavored vodkas. They have a story of turning a passion into a livelihood, and I'd like to start by asking Linda, was there ever a time you or Randy ever thought years ago, my gosh, are we ever going to be able to go from our full-time jobs to working here full-time?
Well, more so, Randy had a bit more difficulty giving up his day job than I did. I happened to be the risk taker in the family, and when we decide there's something that we would love to do, I tend to jump in with both feet. My husband, on the other hand, he was a teacher when we got into this,
so he was
into
the
this
teacher.
business. I was a pharmaceutical sales rep, and he was a teacher, and he really struggled with giving up the steady paycheck. Every 2 weeks he got a paycheck, and we both knew that becoming farmers was extremely risky business to get into, and then creating a product that we had hoped people would love. So it wasn't easy to do, but I think he put in a full 8 years of doing both teaching and winemaking and running a business before he actually closed the door behind himself at school for the last time.
I would imagine it takes a lot of energy and perseverance to do what you've done. And I often read in success stories, people illustrate their passion by saying that if it were possible, they like it so much, they would almost do the work for nothing. Did the two of you resonate with that in any way?
And my husband has a real passion for growing things. So he loves being out there in that vineyard. He'd spend every single minute of his day out there if he could. I love people. We complement each other that way. I love working with our guests here and meeting new people every day. So I give tours on the weekends, and I just love sharing with our guests what it is that we do.
Great. Yeah, I could definitely feel it when I walked in here several weeks ago. The energy, and obviously somebody was putting a lot of passion into what's happening here. I once ran a small business myself many years ago, and there was the obvious side of becoming a master of your products and or services you're selling. And there was the other side that I found more difficult. It was the marketing and advertising, customer relations. Did the two of you complement one another in that regard?
We do. Randy, he handles the production side. He makes the products, although my involvement is, we have very different palates. So I am the final taste tester of every product before it actually goes into the bottle. But I'm have always been involved in my entire life, career-wise, with working with people. So for me, that's a natural part of the business that I handle, the marketing side, being out in the public, you know, the face of the business, so to speak, out in the community. And his I guess his expertise is more with the product. So yes, we do. We complement each other that way.
You were a pre-packaged team right from the ground up. We love your son Bobby's artwork, by the way. Could you tell us a little bit about the goat?
Yes. Our original property down on Neola Road, where our distillery is today.
I was there,
the property, when we bought it to put a house on, and it's on the side of a mountain, and the property was a forest. It was completely wooded, and my husband and I went on a trip to the Finger Lakes of New York, and that's where he got bit by the bug to grow grapes, plant a vineyard, and as you mentioned, we started on the split rail fence as an experiment, but then the following year we had to start taking down the forest So he and I would come home from work, eat dinner, go up and cut trees down, pull stumps out, and we started way at the top of the mountain. And then we'd come down, and then we'd go back up the next day, and we'd come back down, and after a while I would say, oh my gosh, you gotta be a mountain goat to work this property. What on earth were you thinking when you decided to take down a forest and put a vineyard in? So I must have said it so many times that when it came time to create the logo, our wine label, my son created the goat in the wine glass. And then the background of the label is actually from a photo I took looking down from my upper deck at the split rail fence, and then the mountain range across the street. So you'll have to go back and look at it.
And check my
labels.
Yeah,
it was the mountain view that we had from our property.
Okay.
So he's the one who came up with the goat.
Is it a sideline thing for him, or is it going to be, or is it a career for him?
He would love it to be a career for him. However, what he does with the art, he does a lot on the side for folks like us and some of his friends and other businesses, but he's into graphic design, and he does a lot for stores. He does the interiors of stores. He designs every single department, the layout, the displays.
So it goes beyond just drawing.
So it goes beyond just drawing. Yeah.
That's great.
Yes.
When we first entered the building, I could tell right then and there that there was something more going on here than just bottles of wine. And I went home and I looked back at your website and confirmed as much. You have charitable activities, you have the bistro, you have your sustainable growing methods. Could you take a moment and tell us about all the things you're offering in addition to the wines?
Well, as far as charitable contributions, we feel our community has been so supportive of our business over the years that we just want to give back in any way that we can. We support a few organizations on a larger scale. Our local church, community church, where we go. Pocono Alliance, I volunteer. I serve as the board president for that organization, a nonprofit. We support Women's Resources, the United Way, and a lot of the smaller organizations that don't get enough funding look to us for some donations too. So we support our community. As far as the bistro goes, we have collaborated with a local restaurant, Frogtown Chop House, and they lease the kitchen space from us, and they cook during the day. They provide lunch, small plate menus, and they cook for all of our events. We've started hosting weddings here, fundraisers, so they do the cooking. And then as far as the sustainable agriculture goes, that started from our original location. The vineyard was planted around our home. And very quickly, we came to realize that if we used any kind of chemicals in the field, in the vineyard, it would seep into our well water. So that began the process of researching methods that are cleaner for the environment. Same thing with our what we put into the products too. Everything like the vodkas, there's nothing artificial in them. Real fresh fruit. We use raspberries, peaches, blueberries, pears to flavor the vodka. We don't use chemical clarifying agents in our wine. We use a tiny fraction of the sulfites used by most winemakers, because we feel that the folks in general have moved towards organic products, moving away from artificial colors and flavors and preservatives, and so we feel the same should be the case for wine. If you're going to consume it, as healthy of a product as possible is what we strive for.
Yeah.
So.
Well, I have a confession to make. I'm getting married in less than 2 weeks.
Oh, and congratulations.
Thank
That's
you.
Cool.
When Denise and I left the building a few weeks ago, we looked at one another and we said, we should have had it here, but we didn't know.
Yes.
I didn't know you were here, but those of you who are watching, you now know where it is. If you live in the Pocono region or surrounding area, you definitely want to stop by here and taste the excellent wines and spirits. The deck outside is gorgeous. There's a beautiful view everywhere. If you're outside the area and you're coming through the Pocono Mountain region sometime soon, put it on your list. You won't be sorry. Linda, thank you so much.
Oh, you know
for
what
your
I
time.
forgot to tell you?
Sure.
We just started brewing beer too.
Okay,
so
well
now
there
we're
you
gonna have
have it.
something for everyone.
Brand new news on the Biker in a Hat show. We'll be brewing beer soon, so come on by. You'll be glad that you did, and I'm sure you're going to see Denise and me on your deck quite
Awesome.
often. Thank you again so much.
Thank you.